Hi guys, it's Lost Zeno here, and I want to talk a bit about item level cheese, and I want to give a bit of a practical example about how bad it can get. Now, item level cheese is very simply cheesing the item level system by maybe having a lot of high level gear that you can get away with a little bit lower leveled gear in some of the other slots. Now, I want to show you kind of how much of a difference we're actually talking about. Now, for this example, we're using a level 1 striking dummy, and what we're going to do is we're going to cast a Astral Fire 3 normal fire spell. We're not going to bother with Fire 4 because that's just going to be a pain because we'd have to wait for Enochian and all that. But we're not going to put Enochian on just for Fire 2 and change the defense. Now, this is my current gear. Average item level 264. I have Ruby Tide Rod, all that sort of stuff. So all of this gear is around 270, 260. That one, that's probably calculating at 270 as well. So just see how much that is. So Fire 3 goes out for 3,000, obviously without fire buff on, and that goes out for about 4,500. Now, I haven't done this before, so I have a funny feeling, just like with everything I try and do whenever I record, this is going to end badly. Let's just make a note of that so I don't forget and make a fool of myself that way. Now, so the fire spell was 4505. Target on that. Now, I want to give an example of what I actually did. And I had this piece of gear equipped. So this is an eye level 142. I actually had the Shire ring equipped instead of the Ruby Tide ring. That's what replaced it. And my average item level is 254. So let's just see how much damage that is. Casting. That one hits for 3,000. That one direct hit. That's the problem we can't. So I lost 500 damage from that. That hit for 4,030. 30. Now, a serious offender, if you're seriously item cheesing, someone might do this. Now, we're going to do this. They're just equipping it because it's a slot to fill, because no slot is still going to be worse item score. This is still enough to get me a Sushri of the Violet Tide at my highest level. Now, we're not going to equip. I have a funny feeling if I do that, I won't be allowed in. No, but we're going to try and keep it at that item level. That's the key here. Now, if we keep the Shire's Philosopher Ring, this is something you might see. Now, if we do it again, let's just hope we don't crit. Because if we crit, the numbers are going to be weird. And then we cast fire. Great, critical. That's what I said I don't want. Direct hit. Direct hit. Now, this is what happens when item levels are all over the damn place. Because this just hit for 4,111, which is better, damage-wise, than I hit with my normal abilities. I'm just going to get some mana back quickly. That'll do. We're just going to run over here until that stops thinking I am aggro it, because I don't have a dot. Right. So we'll do that. However, the worst offenders tend to be weapon and chest pieces. So let's just equip my best gear again, like that. And that particular gear was 4,405. We had the Hellanist ring, it was 4030, and then with that ring of crafting, because of the way there's a bit of an RNG to the amount of damage you do, it actually hit a bit harder, but only slightly hard. It hit about 120 more damage harder. Bearing in mind at this level, 120 damage isn't a lot. But let's say I was trying to proper item cheese, just getting away with it. Now I know this, for example, works. I can still get in Sushri of the Violet Tide with that. That's an item level 120. That is equivalent to, say, Ironworks gear. If we fire this off, this is going to backfire badly, isn't it? Better critical. Oh, for fuck's sake. Stop critting! Usually I want crits, but not right now. Right, that's 3,876 damage. 3,786 damage from the fire. So we're starting to see significant decreases. We're talking almost 1,000 damage there. Bearing in mind, throw in the random numbers in that, we are probably talking about your average of about 1,000 damage loss. Now let's just see how bad gear I can equip before I get too low to not be able to do Sushi the outside. So if I equip that, is that too much? Ever so slightly by 1 item level. So I just need to find something not as big. Problem is I don't have anything like that on me. That's still 253 average item level. However, something you might see now. You just equip that back up to best. This goat horn stuff. Now, this one in particular takes me way down, but takes me into Havensward. This prevents me from doing most content, bar like it still allows me to do most of Havensward's content, bar like basically the patch 5, the 0.5 series from them. X.57 3.5 series. Let's see how much damage this one does. I hit for 1,600 damage. I'm doing less than half the damage. 1,632 damage with that staff. That is how much a main hand weapon affects. The main hand weapon effect is the biggest offender. That is, I would say that's why they calculate twice, but they're only calculated twice because gladiators have shields. It's the only reason they actually get thrown into calculation twice. If not, they'd be calculated once, but you'd have one less divisible there, so you'd probably still end up with about the same number. That is an important factor to take into consideration, because bear in mind at the lower levels, so if we compare Ruby Tide Rod with the, where is it, Cooper Nickel Staff, which is only a few item levels, well, I'm still in combat technically. You actually have to run off from these. This is the biggest problem with using these. But this is the Cooper Nickel Staff, you get it. Fire 3. Fire 1. Here we go with direct hits and critical hits there. And that hits for 4,431. So we're talking about, again, we're talking less than 100 damage. We're probably averaging about 100 damage difference. Not enough. It's not big enough of a difference at this current item level for it to cause anyone concern in damaging packs. You might see a bit more of a difference in, say, an AoE situation where you're hitting a lot more mobs and the numbers kind of vary a lot more, but you're not going to be hitting too much. But again, that is a lot difference. I don't have anything that's... do I have it? Ooh, do I have my scholar on me? Do I have my scholar gear on me? Alright, I keep going off at tangents to check this out. But I think this is important to know that its main hand weapons are actually quite important and why they should never be used. This one's probably going to complain about the way my gear looks more than anything, but I like this outfit in it. Right, so I currently have the Ironworks Magitech Codex, which is iron level 120. A single ruin. Thankfully this is simpler. Just do that. That hits for 557. 557 is easy. Now I equip the Ifrit's Codex I happen to have on me. I thought I'd complain about something there. I just happen to have on me because I'm keeping it for desynth purposes later on once I get my Alchemist desynth high enough. Now, if I'm to use that spell, bearing in mind it's 60 item levels. 60 item levels is more than 100 damage at this level. Bearing in mind this is level 53. And actually, technically, it's the difference at level 50. And at level 50, 100 is a lot. Because that's another thing some people don't take into consideration. At what numbers are a lot and what numbers are just meh at that point. Like we said, level 60 something, Black Mage, 100 damage isn't that much. It's... something like 100 damage is the kind of thing that's gonna work to show off those that are better. And by that I mean people who know how to play their class better than other people. Not necessarily they're the best players, you should always want them. They might be horrible people. They might be horrible people being dungeon people, but that's not what I mean. I mean people who know their exact rotations and know how to avoid all the damage while still maximising their damage, their uptime. At level 63, 100 damage is the kind that's you're really only going to notice a difference in a DPS meter that you're not allowed to have because it's against terms of service, is not really going to change. It's the only time you're really going to see a difference. If you've got two identical players, that's the time you're going to see a difference. If you've got a terrible player and a good player, you've got a competent player even and a good player, 100 damage is still going to put the good player up. Probably still going to put the good player up. 100 damage isn't a lot at level 63. You get into the much higher. If we get to level 80, and someone's doing 100 damage less than me, and they're the same class with the same rotation and all that sort of stuff, they're doing an average of 100 damage less per attack. No one's going to care because in DPS terms, we're talking divided by 2.5. Divided by 2.5 is 4. No, it's not. It's 40, I think. I'm terrible at that. I passed maths, and I'm still terrible at it. 100 divided by, we'll call it at the average GC. Yeah, 40. That's 40 damage per second. If someone turns around and tells me I'm not allowed in their group because my pass is 40 DPS too low, we're going to have to seriously talk about the other people you're going to have in your group. If someone says it's 400 now, we can have a talk about that. That is a reasonable. But 40 damage, 40 DPS, that's what you're going to be looking at. But when you look at something like 1,000 difference, that becomes 400 damage. Bearing in mind, if you use Fire 4 at this level, I kind of want to show it off now, just to show when you start looking, the bigger numbers you're supposed to be doing, the more damage you're losing. So if we do that, Fire 4, don't crit, that direct hit. But yeah, I know roughly, I should be hitting for about 7,500 damage here. Or, yeah, there you go. 7,500 damage, give or take. We'll just get rid of that. Sod off. There we go. Now, if I do that with a Greenhorn Staff, we're going to see a lot bigger difference, I reckon. So, let me just write that down because this one's going to change my battle log quite a bit. Notepad. Enter. 7, 6, 8, 3. So, let's do that again. Polygot's refreshed. I'm back at full mana. Let's hope this works before something. Let's hope I don't critical hit. Now, I reckon you're still going to see a difference in between them. That's a direct hit for 3,697 damage. 2,700 damage. So the difference we were talking about earlier was 1,600 damage. Was the difference between 1,600 and 4,500. We're now talking about the difference between 7,600 and 2,800. That is an even bigger gap. It's to be expected, obviously. The more damaging attack, the more it multiplies off your current damage. So this is where item cheese comes into play. Again, it's one of those with the fire experiments and the rings and chest pieces and stuff. Again, the damage difference of a couple of hundred. I think it was 3,786 for having that chest piece. If I did that Fire 4 experiment now, I did Fire 4 instead. So, Black Mage, equip the chest piece that I have on me. For some reason, I need to get rid of it. I think I randomly picked it up. Probably the best excuse. So, if we do this, and hopefully again, don't get any. Oh, I haven't got Polygon, that's why. What didn't cost? Fire 4. 500 damage. But, yeah, 500 damage give or take. Still about 500 damage, and I ran out of time. But yeah, I'm still talking about 500 damage difference. It's still significant at that point. At this level, I think 500 damage is something you need to look at, because what you're talking now about 200 DPS at this level, that's difference. Where I get my numbers from with what's relevant DPS, you can probably search online and find what was considered average DPS at certain levels, what would be considered reasonable DPS at certain levels. So like Haven Sword is somewhere like 2,000 DPS, when your average The average DPS is, expected to be 2 to 4,000 DPS. Now, I may be wrong in the numbers a bit, but when that is 200 DPS itself is quite a big difference. Because part of that on top of having a bad rotation or having to move, not having enough uptime, and that can translate to quite a lot of damage loss. But at the current state where we're expecting 10,000 plus DPS, that is 200 damage. You're going to have to be a lot further off. 200 damage per second is a lot further off. But anyway, that's what I want to cover with the item level. I wanted to show you it in more of a practical sense, because sometimes it can be a bit difficult to know how bad item level damage is. Like we saw, it can be a bit finicky because of random chance, but realistically we're not going to be losing out on... With a ring, there's still quite a few item levels down, and about 50 intelligence. For those wondering about the exact stats, it's about 50. I know it's not exact enough, but that's the number I'm giving you. I'm talking about a loss of about 500 damage per hit, which again can translate quite nicely into DPS. Can translate into lower DPS by quite a bit. And I just realised I think I've probably done the calculation wrong, because it's not divised. I've probably done it wrong, but you can calculate into a lot of DPS loss, but nowhere near as much as having the wrong weapon. If I went and got hold of a level 59 weapon, you'd probably still see quite a bit difference because of the item level difference and the magic damage. That's the actual main important stat on your weapon. Magic damage and delay, I think. I'm pretty sure. I read somewhere how potency is calculated. I had an aneurysm, and I don't know the exact calculations, but it works out somewhere like that. Anyway, I've been Lostino. Thanks for watching.